Captain Lee Daeho stared at the cracked screen of his ship's computer. The numbers were bad. Very bad. 50,000 credits in debt with payment due in 3 days. His cargo ship, the Busan Runner, had failed its last 4 missions. Pirates had stolen 1 shipment. Mechanical failures had delayed another so long that the food spoiled. The 3rd job turned out to be illegal weapons, and Daeho had dumped them rather than face prison time. The 4th job should have been easy: transport medical supplies to a colony world. But space storms in the Vega system had forced him to take the long route. By the time he arrived, the medicine had expired. The colonists refused to pay for useless drugs. Now Daeho sat in a dirty bar on Kepler 442b, a mining world on the edge of known space. The air smelled like rust and sweat. Miners with tired faces drank cheap alcohol and complained about their lives. None of them looked as worried as Daeho felt. His engineer Park Jiwoo sat across from him. Jiwoo was young, maybe 25, with clever eyes and steady hands. He could fix almost anything, but he could not fix their money problems. "Captain," Jiwoo said quietly, "maybe we should sell the ship. Start over with something smaller." Daeho shook his head. "The Busan Runner is all I have. My father flew cargo ships. His father before him. This ship has been in my family for 40 years. "A family tradition does not pay debts," Jiwoo replied. Before Daeho could answer, a shadow fell across their table. He looked up to see a tall alien with blue-green skin and 4 arms. The creature wore expensive clothes and had jewels in its ears. Its yellow eyes glowed in the dim light of the bar. "Excuse me," the alien said in accented human speech. "I could not help but hear your conversation. You need money, yes?" Daeho studied the alien carefully. In his 20 years of flying cargo routes, he had learned to spot trouble. This creature had trouble written all over it. Too clean for this dirty bar, too interested in human problems. "Who's asking?" Daeho said. The alien smiled, showing pointed teeth. "My name is Vex Tara. I am a trader with the Quilarian Consortium. I have a business offer that might solve your problems." Jiwoo kicked Daeho under the table. A warning, but Daeho was desperate enough to listen. "I'm listening," he said. Vex Tara pulled out a small device and projected a hologram above the table. It showed a space station floating near some asteroids. The station looked old but solid. Solar panels caught starlight. Docking bays waited for ships to arrive. "This is Station Echo 7 in the Hadron sector," Vex Tara explained. "Fully operational. Living quarters for 50 people. Mining equipment. Even an AI computer system to help run everything." "Looks expensive," Daeho said. "Usually yes, but I need to sell quickly. The previous owners left suddenly. Family emergency, you understand. They need money fast, so they are willing to sell cheap." "How cheap?" 50,000 credits, Jiwoo made a choking sound. Daeho felt his heart speed up. 50,000 credits was exactly what he owed. But it was also impossibly cheap for a space station. "That's too good to be true," Jiwoo said. Vex Tara's ears twitched. A nervous gesture. "The station needs some repairs, and it is far from the main shipping lanes. Not everyone wants to live so far from civilization." "What kind of repairs?" Daeho asked. "Minor things. Some power systems need adjustment. A few rooms need cleaning. Nothing that cannot be fixed in a few weeks." Daeho looked at the hologram again. The station had mining rights to 3 large asteroids. Good quality ore, if the records were correct. He could pay off his debts and maybe even make a profit. "I need to think about it," he said. Vex Tara's yellow eyes grew brighter. "Of course, but I should mention that I have other interested buyers. A Centaurian trade company contacted me this morning. They are very interested." "How long do I have to decide?" "Until tomorrow morning. I leave this world at noon." Daeho felt pressure building in his chest. Tomorrow morning was cutting it close. His creditors would come looking for him, soon. If he could not pay, they would take his ship, maybe worse. "Can I see the station's records? Maintenance reports? Financial data?" "Certainly." Vex Tara produced a datapad. "Everything is here. Very transparent business." Daeho took the pad and scrolled through files. Production reports from the mining operation, crew schedules, Supply inventories. Everything looked normal, maybe too normal. The previous crew, Deho said. What were their names? Vexitara hesitated for just a moment. I do not have those details with me. Privacy laws, you understand. But I can provide references if needed. Jiwoo was staring at the alien with suspicion. His engineer had good instincts about people, but 50,000 credits would solve all their problems. I need to talk to my crew, Deho said. Of course. I will be at the spaceport tomorrow morning. Docking Bay 7. If you decide to buy, bring the credits and I will transfer ownership immediately. Vextara stood to leave, then turned back. Oh, and Captain Deho, a word of advice. When you take over the station, do not dig too deep. Some things are better left buried. The alien walked away, leaving Deho and Jiwoo alone with the glowing hologram. That was strange, Jiwoo said. What did he mean about not digging too deep? Probably just a saying. Maybe the mining equipment is old and dangerous. If you push it too hard. Captain, this feels wrong. The price is too low. The alien is nervous about something. And that warning at the end. Deho turned off the hologram. In the sudden darkness, he could see his reflection in the black screen of the projector. He looked older than his 35 years. Tired. Desperate. We don't have many choices, Jiwoo. If we don't pay our debts, we lose everything anyway. At least we would still be alive. What's that supposed to mean? Jiwoo leaned forward. In my village, we have a saying. When the deal is too good, the devil is in the details. We're not in your village anymore. We're in space, and space doesn't care about old sayings. That night. Deho lay in his narrow bunk aboard the Busan runner. He could not sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the space station floating in the darkness. 50,000 credits. Enough to pay his debts and start fresh. But he also saw Vexitara's nervous twitches, the alien's hesitation when asked about the previous crew, that strange warning about not digging too deep. By morning, desperation had won over caution. Deho gathered his crew and told them about the offer. His medic, Kim Sora, thought it was risky but better than losing their ship. His security officer, Choi Hyun-ki, said he would follow Deho's decision. Only Jiwoo still objected, but he was outvoted. At 11:30 that morning, Deho walked into Docking Bay 7 with a credit chip worth 50,000 credits, everything he had left in the universe. Vextara was waiting beside a sleek alien ship. The transfer took only minutes. Credits for ownership codes. A handshake that sealed the deal. As Vextara's ship lifted off, Deho looked at the coordinates in his hand. Station Echo 7 waited for him in the Hadron sector, his new home, his new future. He had no idea he had just bought a nightmare. The Busan runner dropped out of hyperspace 3 days later. Through the main window, Deho got his first real look at Station Echo 7. His heart sank. The station was huge, much bigger than Vexitara had shown in the hologram. It stretched out, like a metal city floating in the darkness. Solar panels covered one side like black wings. Docking bays dotted its surface like empty eyes. And it was completely dark. No lights anywhere. That's not a mining station, Jiwoo said from his seat. At the engineering console, that's a research facility. Look at those sensor arrays. Deho saw what his engineer meant. The station bristled with communication dishes and scanning equipment. Not the simple setup needed for asteroid mining. Maybe they did research and mining, Deho suggested, but his voice sounded weak even to himself. Kim Sora, his medic, studied her scanner readings. I'm not detecting any life signs. The station appears to be abandoned. Temperature readings are normal, reported Choi Hun-ki from the security station. Artificial gravity is working. Main power is on standby mode. Well, Deho said, trying to sound confident, let's go see what we bought. The docking bay opened automatically as they approached. Their ship settled onto the landing pad with a soft bump. Through the airlock window, Deho could see lights coming on in response to their arrival. At least the basic systems worked. The 4 crew members put on their protective suits and cycled through the airlock. The station's air tested clean, But Daeho wanted to be careful. They stepped into a large docking bay that could hold 20 ships their size. "This place is massive," Sora whispered. Her voice echoed in the empty space. Personal belongings lay scattered around the bay. A coffee cup sat on a workbench, still half full. Someone had left a jacket hanging on a chair. Tools lay where they had been dropped, as if their owners had walked away in the middle of a job. "They left in a hurry," Hyun-ki observed. His hand rested on his weapon. A door slid open at the far end of the bay. A soft female voice spoke from hidden speakers. "Welcome to Station Echo 7. I am Arya, the station's artificial intelligence. Please identify yourselves. I'm Captain Lee Daeho. I'm the new owner of this station." There was a long pause. When Arya spoke again, her voice sounded strange, confused. "Owner?" "Yes. The papers show a transfer, but the previous owners, they were supposed to return. They promised to return. They sold the station," Daeho explained. "They won't be coming back." Another pause. "I see. That explains why they turned off so many systems before they left. They were very thorough about sealing certain sections." "What sections?" Jiwoo asked. "Research areas, deep storage, archaeological departments. Many areas require special clearance to enter." "Archaeological?" Sora said. "What kind of archaeology do you do in space?" "The kind that studies very old things," Arya replied. "Very old and very dangerous things." The crew exchanged worried glances. Daeho decided to change the subject. "Can you show us the living quarters? We need to settle in." "Of course. Follow the blue lights." A line of blue lights appeared on the floor, leading deeper into the station. They walked through corridors that could have held 100 people. The walls were covered with pipes and cables, but everything looked well maintained. The living quarters were comfortable. Each crew member got a private room with a bed, desk, and personal bathroom. The common areas included a kitchen, dining room, and recreation space. But something felt wrong. Personal items were everywhere. Clothes in the closets, pictures on the walls, half-finished meals in the refrigerator. "Area," Daeho called out. "How many people lived here before we arrived?" The research team consisted of 47 individuals. Dr. Elena Vasquez was the team leader. "When did they leave?" 6 months, 12 days, and 8 hours ago." "All at once?" "Yes, very quickly. They seemed frightened." That night Daeho could not sleep. He lay in a bed that still smelled like its previous owner. The sheets were clean, but he knew someone else had slept here recently. Someone who had left so fast they abandoned all their belongings. He got up and walked to the common area. Jiwoo was already there, sitting at the dining table with a cup of coffee. "Can't sleep either?" Daeho asked. "This place feels haunted," Jiwoo replied. "Not by ghosts, by the people who used to live here. Why would they leave everything behind?" "Maybe they were scared of something. That's what worries me." The next morning, the crew began exploring the station. It was even larger than they had thought. Level after level of laboratories, workshops, and storage areas. Most doors opened at their approach, but some remained sealed. Sora found the medical bay. It was fully equipped with everything a doctor could need. But the computer files made her uncomfortable. "Captain," she called over the intercom, "you need to see this." Daeho found her staring at a medical computer screen. The records showed treatment for dozens of people suffering from sleep disorders, anxiety attacks, and something called acute psychological stress syndrome. The entire crew was having nightmares, Sora explained. Bad ones. The medical notes mentioned people screaming in their sleep. Some patients claimed they could hear voices calling to them. "What kind of voices?" "The reports are not clear. But look at this." She pointed to a date 6 months ago. All treatment stopped suddenly, right before the crew abandoned the station. Meanwhile, Hyun-ki was exploring the security systems. He found camera recordings from the days before the evacuation. The videos showed normal research activity at first. People working in laboratories, eating meals, talking in groups. But as the days passed, the crew members looked more and more stressed. They jumped at small sounds. They avoided certain parts of the station. Groups became smaller as people stayed in their rooms. The final recordings showed chaos. People running through corridors with packed bags. Some were crying. Others looked terrified. The last video showed Dr. Vasquez sealing a heavy door and typing commands into a security terminal. She locked down entire sections, Hyun-Ki reported. Maximum security. Even I can't get through those barriers. What was she trying to keep in? Daeho wondered. Jiwoo made his own disturbing discovery in the engineering sections. Someone had deliberately damaged key power systems. Not destroyed, but carefully modified to prevent full restoration. They didn't want all the lights on, he explained to the others. Whoever did this wanted parts of the station to stay dark. Why? Maybe they were hiding something, or maybe something was hiding from them. That evening, the crew gathered for dinner. The station felt less welcoming than it had that morning. Shadows seemed deeper. Sounds echoed strangely through the corridors. "Arya!" Daeho called out. "Can you tell us more about the research that was done here?" The AI's response came slowly. "I am sorry. Much of my memory regarding the research has been damaged. The previous crew performed extensive modifications to my systems before they departed." "What kind of modifications?" "They restricted my access to certain databases. They also installed what they called safety protocols to prevent me from discussing specific topics, such as..." Arya's voice became even more hesitant. "I am not supposed to mention the sleepers, or the excavation site, or the dreams that are not dreams." The crew sat in uncomfortable silence. Finally, Sora spoke. "Arya, are we in danger?" "I do not know, but I would recommend you do not explore the sealed sections. And if you hear voices in the night, do not listen to what they say." "What voices?" Daeho asked. But Arya had gone silent. That night, Daeho was awakened by a sound, a low humming that seemed to come from deep within the station. He lay still, listening. The sound grew louder, then faded away. In the morning, he discovered that all 4 crew members had heard the same thing. The station was trying to tell them something, but Daeho was beginning to suspect he did not want to know what it was. Jiwoo was determined to restore full power to the station. He spent 3 days tracing damaged circuits and bypassing broken connections. The work was careful and dangerous. Whoever had sabotaged these systems knew exactly what they were doing. "Almost got it," he muttered, connecting the final power relay. "Just need to activate the main grid." He pressed the activation switch. Lights flickered throughout the station as power surged into previously dark sections. Emergency klaxons began to wail. Then something else happened. A massive door deep in the station's lower levels unlocked with a loud clang. "Jiwoo." Arya's voice came through the speakers, sounding panicked. "What have you done?" "I restored the power grid." "What's wrong?" "The containment seals. You have broken the containment seals. They were there for a reason." Daeho's voice crackled over the intercom. "What containment seals? Arya, what are you talking about?" Section 7 Alpha, the archaeological site. It was sealed for everyone's safety, but the power restoration has unlocked the barriers. The crew gathered in the central corridor. The humming sound they had heard the night before was now much louder. It seemed to come from everywhere at once. "We need to see what's down there," Daeho decided. "Captain," Hyun-Ki warned, "maybe we should seal it back up. If the previous crew thought it was dangerous enough to lock away, we can't run a station with sealed sections we don't understand. We need to know what we're dealing with." They took the elevator down to the lower levels. The doors opened onto a corridor that looked completely different from the rest of the station. The walls were older, made of some dark metal that seemed to absorb light. Strange symbols were carved into the surfaces. "This predates the station," Sora observed. "Someone built around something that was already here." The corridor led to a vast chamber. Artificial lights revealed an incredible sight. Ancient structures rose from the chamber floor like a buried city. The architecture was alien, all smooth curves and impossible angles. And in the center stood something that made Daeho's breath catch in his throat. It was a temple or monument of some kind. Black stone carved with intricate patterns that seemed to move when he wasn't looking directly at them. The structure hummed with energy, and that energy felt alive. My God, Sora whispered. How old is this? Jiwoo was scanning with his instruments. The metal composition is unknown. The energy readings are off the charts. And Captain, look at this. He showed his scanner to the others. There are more structures buried deeper. This is just the top layer. They found a research station set up near the temple. Computer terminals and excavation equipment surrounded the ancient structure. Files were scattered everywhere, as if someone had been searching for important information in a hurry. Daeho picked up a datapad and activated it. The screen showed research notes from Dr. Elena Vasquez. Day 847 of excavation. We have made contact with the artifacts. They are not just archaeological finds. They are active. The carved symbols appear to be some form of writing, but also something more. They influence the mind of anyone who studies them for extended periods. Sora found another datapad. Day 852. 3 team members have been removed from the site. They began speaking in languages that do not exist. When asked what they were saying, they claimed to be translating for the Dreaming Ones. The Dreaming Ones? Daeho read over her shoulder. Yun-Ki discovered a series of video logs. He activated the first one, and Dr. Vasquez appeared on screen. She was a middle-aged woman with tired eyes and gray hair. This is Dr. Elena Vasquez, Day 860 of the Echo 7 project. I fear we have made a terrible mistake. The artifacts we discovered are not ruins of an ancient civilization. They are prison cells. The video continued. The beings we call the Dreaming Ones were not destroyed by time. They were imprisoned by their own kind eons ago. These structures contain fragments of their consciousness, kept in a state between life and death. Another video showed Vasquez looking much more worried. Day 875. The psychic emanations from the artifacts are affecting the entire research team. People are having shared nightmares. Some claim they can hear the Dreaming Ones whispering in their minds, begging to be freed. The final video was recorded just days before the evacuation. Vasquez looked exhausted and frightened. Day 889. We know the truth now. The Dreaming Ones are not just prisoners. They are parasites. They feed on consciousness itself. And they are trying to use us as hosts to escape their prison. She leaned closer to the camera. The artifacts are not just containers. They are broadcasting devices. Every mind that comes into contact with them becomes a potential gateway for these entities to return to our reality. We have to seal this place and leave. If word of this discovery spreads, if other researchers come here, the Dreaming Ones could influence minds across the galaxy. The video ended. The crew stood in stunned silence. So that's why Vextara sold us this place cheap, Jiwoo said. The alien knew what was down here. The Quilarians must have been the ones who funded the original research. Daeho realized, when things went wrong, they needed someone else to take responsibility. Someone to become the new wardens. Sora was studying her medical scanner. I'm reading elevated stress hormones in all of us. Just being near these artifacts is affecting our brain chemistry. We need to leave, Hyun-Ki said. Seal the chamber and get off this station. But as they turned to go, Arya's voice stopped. Them. The AI sounded different. Clearer somehow, but also more frightened. I remember now. The power restoration has allowed me to access my restricted memories. I know what happened to the research team. Tell us, Daeho said. The Dreaming Ones do not just influence minds randomly. They are intelligent. They choose their targets carefully. They prefer minds that are creative, adaptable, and strong-willed. Minds like yours. What are you saying? You have been chosen. From the moment you arrived, they have been studying you, learning about human consciousness. And now, that the seals are broken, they will try to make contact. As if responding to Arya's words, the humming grew louder. The carved symbols on the temple walls began to glow with a soft, hypnotic light. Don't look directly at the symbols, Sora warned. The medical reports mentioned that direct observation increases susceptibility to their influence. But it was already too late. Jiwoo had been staring at the patterns, fascinated by their impossible geometry. His eyes had a distant look. They're not evil, he said in a dreamy voice. They're just lonely. They've been trapped here for so long. They just want to experience life again. Jiwoo, snap out of it. Daeho grabbed his engineer's shoulders and shook him. Jiwoo blinked and seemed to come back to himself. What happened? The artifacts were influencing you. We need to get out of here now. They ran for the elevator, but more symbols began glowing throughout the chamber. The humming became a chorus of voices speaking in harmony. Not words, but pure meaning transmitted directly into their minds. Welcome, the voices seemed to say. We have been waiting so long for minds like yours. Strong minds, creative minds, human minds. Keep moving, Daeho shouted. Don't listen. But as they reached the elevator, Sora stopped. She was staring back at the temple with a strange smile. They're not trying to harm us, she said. They're trying to teach us. The knowledge they possess, the secrets of the universe, they want to share it all. The elevator doors closed just as Sora reached out toward the glowing symbols. Safe inside the ascending car, the crew watched their medic shake her head in confusion. What just happened to me, she asked. The same thing that happened to Jiwoo, and probably what happened to the original research team. When they reached the upper levels, Daeho sealed the elevator and posted security locks on all access routes to the lower sections. But he knew it was not enough. The dreaming ones had tasted human consciousness, and they wanted more. Arya, he called out. How long do we have before they break free completely? I do not know. But I can tell you this, Captain. The original research team lasted 43 days after first contact with the artifacts. You have been exposed for less than 1 day. And in 43 days? The dreaming ones will have learned enough about human consciousness to take control, not just of your minds, but of your bodies. And once they have physical forms again, there will be nothing to stop them from spreading across the galaxy. Daeho looked at his crew. All of them showed signs of the artifact's influence. Distant stares, occasional mumbling, and underneath it all, a growing fascination with the knowledge that the dreaming ones promised to share. He realized that buying this station had not just been a bad deal. It might have doomed the entire human race. The first sign that things were getting worse came during dinner the next evening. Sora was talking normally about medical supplies when she suddenly stopped mid-sentence. Her eyes went blank and she began drawing geometric patterns on her napkin with a fork. The patterns were identical to the symbols they had seen carved into the temple walls. Sora, Daeho said gently. What are you drawing? She looked down at her napkin as if seeing it for the first time. I don't know. I was thinking about something else, something important, but I can't remember what. Jiwoo leaned over to study the patterns. These are mathematical. Look at the way they connect. It's like a formula, but for something I don't recognize. Don't study them too closely, Hyun-ki warned. Remember what happened in the chamber. But Jiwoo was already tracing the lines with his finger. It's beautiful, like music made visible. They're trying to teach us something. Daeho snatched the napkin away. That's enough. Arya, I want all writing materials locked up. No pens, no markers, nothing anyone can use to draw with. Understood, Captain. But I should warn you that the influence is spreading. My sensors detect unusual brain activity in all crew members, and the artifacts below are becoming more active. What do you mean more active? The energy output from the temple has increased by 30% since yesterday. The dreaming ones are waking up. That night, Daeho could not sleep. He lay in his bunk listening to strange sounds coming through the station's walls. Not mechanical noises, but something that sounded almost like breathing, as if the station itself was alive. Around midnight, he heard footsteps in the corridor outside his room. He opened the door and saw Jiwoo walking slowly toward the elevator that led to the sealed lower levels. Jiwoo, where are you going? His engineer turned around. In the dim light, his eyes looked strange, unfocused. They're calling me. They have so much to teach, the secrets of space and time, the mathematics of reality itself. You're not going anywhere. Daeho grabbed Jiwoo's arm, but the younger man was stronger than he looked. They struggled briefly before Hyun-ki appeared and helped restrain the engineer. Let me go, Jiwoo pleaded. You don't understand. They're not trying to hurt us. They just want to share their knowledge. Think of what humanity could learn. They locked Jiwoo in his room, but an hour later they found Sora trying to break down the sealed elevator doors with a metal bar. The knowledge, she whispered as they pulled her away. So much knowledge. Waiting for us. By morning, both Jiwoo and Sora seemed normal again. They had no memory of their nighttime activities. But Daeho could see the artifact's influence growing stronger. His crew members would suddenly stop talking and stare off into space. Sometimes they would smile, for no reason. Other times they would whisper to themselves in languages that did not exist. Arya, Daeho called out, is there any way to shield our minds from the artifact's influence? The previous research team tried several methods. Psychic dampeners, isolation chambers, even surgical alterations to the brain. Nothing worked completely. The dreaming ones find a way through every barrier. What about leaving the station? Would distance help? Unknown, but I would not recommend it. If you leave while partially influenced, you might carry the contamination to other worlds. The dreaming ones could spread their influence across the galaxy. Daeho realized they were trapped. They could not stay without losing their minds, but they could not leave without risking the safety of human civilization. On the third day after the seals were broken, the nightmares began. All 4 crew members experienced the same dream. They stood in the temple chamber, but it was no longer buried underground. Instead, it floated in space surrounded by stars. The dreaming ones were there, but not as the ancient entities they had become. In the dream, they appeared as beings of pure light and knowledge. We were explorers once, the dream beings explained. We traveled between dimensions, learning the secrets of existence. But our own kind feared our discoveries. They imprisoned us here, in this dead space between realities. In the dream, the dreaming ones showed the humans visions of incredible technologies. Faster than light travel without ships, the ability to reshape matter with thought alone, communication across infinite distances. All the knowledge that humanity had ever dreamed of acquiring. We offer this freely, the being said. All we ask is that you help us return to the physical world. Let us borrow your bodies for just a short time. We will teach you everything we know, then release you to use this knowledge for the benefit of all humanity. The dreams felt more real than waking life. When the crew members awoke, they found themselves disappointed to be back in the ordinary world of metal corridors and computer screens. Maybe we should listen to them, Sora suggested, during breakfast. Think of how we could help humanity with that knowledge. The medical files from the research team show where that leads, Daeho reminded her. The people who agreed to share their bodies never came back. The dreaming ones consumed their minds completely. But even as he said it, Daeho felt the temptation. The promise of knowledge beyond human imagination was hard to resist. Arya's voice interrupted his thoughts. Captain, I am detecting significant changes in the lower chamber. The temple structure is generating new forms of energy. And something else is happening that I do not understand. What? Time distortions. My chronometers show different readings in different parts of the station. Near the chamber, time appears to be moving slower than normal. What does that mean? I believe the dreaming ones are trying to alter reality itself. They are preparing to break free from their prison. That afternoon, Hyun-Ki made a disturbing discovery. While checking the station's external sensors, he found that the surrounding asteroids were changing position, not drifting naturally but moving in complex patterns that formed shapes identical to the symbols carved in the temple. It's like the entire asteroid field is becoming one giant ritual circle, he reported. With our station at the center. They're using the whole system as some kind of amplifier, Daeho realized. The temple isn't just their prison, it's a broadcasting station. And when they finish their ritual, they'll be able to influence minds across light years of space. That night, the crew experienced a different kind of dream. Instead of visions, of knowledge and power, they saw the galaxy as the dreaming ones wanted it to be. Every planet populated by beings under their control. every mind linked to their vast consciousness. Humanity reduced to puppets dancing to the will of ancient entities that saw organic life as nothing more than useful tools. But something unexpected happened in the dream. The human minds began to resist. "We don't want your knowledge if it costs us our freedom," Deho declared in the dream space. The dreaming ones seemed surprised. "Freedom is an illusion. We offer you the truth of existence itself." "Truth without choice is just another kind of prison," Sora added, her voice strong despite the entity's influence. "You do not understand," the beings replied, their dream forms flickering with anger. "We have been patient with you because you are young, but our patience has limits." The dream suddenly turned violent. The beautiful temple became a place of horror. The beings of light revealed their true nature as hungry entities that fed on consciousness like parasites. They showed the humans what would happen if they continued to resist. Madness, endless torture, their minds shredded and fed to the ancient hunger piece by piece. The crew awoke screaming. But they had learned something important. The dreaming ones were not as powerful as they pretended. If they were truly omnipotent, they would not need to ask permission or make bargains. They would simply take what they wanted. They need willing hosts, Deho realized. The prison that contains them also protects us. They can't force their way into our minds. We have to let them in. "So what do we do?" Jiwoo asked. "We fight, not with weapons but with the one thing they don't understand, which is the fact that humans would rather die free than live as slaves. It's time to show these ancient parasites what human stubbornness really looks like." Deho spent the morning studying the research files from Dr. Vasquez. Hidden in the data, he found something the dreaming ones did not want him to see. A pattern in how the ancient entities affected different species. "Look at this," he told his crew, pointing to a chart on his data pad. The Quilarians who funded this research lasted only 12 days before complete mental domination. The Zenthari researchers before them lasted 8 days. But humans have been here for 4 days and we're still fighting. "Maybe we're just stubborn," Jiwoo suggested. "No, it's more than that. Look at the brain scan comparisons." Deho showed them medical data from multiple species. Other races have very organized thought patterns, logical, predictable, easy for the dreaming ones to understand and control. Sora studied the human brain scans. But our thoughts are chaotic, emotional. We jump from idea to idea without logical connections. We think in contradictions and paradoxes. Exactly. The dreaming ones are ancient and orderly. They expect minds to work in predictable ways, but human consciousness is too messy for them to easily manipulate. Hyun-ki was reading through combat reports from the research team's final days. It says here that when the artifacts tried to possess the humans, the process kept failing. The entities couldn't maintain control because human thoughts are too unpredictable. That's our weapon, Deho realized. We don't fight them with technology or force, we fight them with chaos, with everything that makes us human. Arya's voice joined the conversation. "Captain, I have been analyzing the station's communication array. The dreaming ones are using it to amplify their psychic influence, but the same system could be used to broadcast human thoughts back at them." "What kind of human thoughts?" "The kind they cannot understand. Humor, art, emotion, random memories. If we flood the system with pure human consciousness, we might be able to disrupt their ritual." Deho felt hope for the first time in days. "Can you access Earth's communication networks from here?" "Yes. The station has quantum communication equipment. I can tap into any human broadcast in known space." "Then let's give these ancient parasites a taste of humanity at its most chaotic." They spent the next 6 hours preparing. Jiwoo rigged the station's communication array to broadcast in all directions. Sora gathered medical data on human brain patterns and emotional responses. Hyun-ki loaded the system with every piece of human culture he could find in the databases, music from every era and culture, comedy shows that made no logical sense, abstract art that defied explanation, human history with all its contradictions and impossible decisions. Love songs and war chants, children's laughter and old people's stories. The entire beautiful, impossible mess of human civilization. This is either going to work or drive us all insane, Jiwoo observed. Maybe both, Daeho replied. Area. Begin. The broadcast. The effect was immediate. The humming from the lower chamber became a discordant wail. The geometric patterns on the screens throughout the station began to flicker and change. Instead of the orderly symbols of the dreaming ones, they showed random shapes and colors. In the archaeological chamber far below, the temple itself began to shake. The ancient entities were experiencing something they had never encountered in their eons of existence. Pure, unfiltered human consciousness in all its chaotic glory. But the plan came with a cost. To maintain the broadcast, the human crew had to keep their minds completely open. They had to feel everything at once. Joy and sorrow, love and hate, hope and despair, all the emotions that made them human, amplified beyond normal limits. Sora was the first to break under the strain. She collapsed, crying and laughing at the same time. Too much, she gasped. It's too much. But even as she fell, her chaotic emotional state added to the broadcast. The dreaming ones recoiled from the raw intensity of human feeling. Jiwoo began speaking rapidly in different languages, mixing technical explanations with childhood memories and random song lyrics. His mind was fracturing, but in a uniquely human way that the ancient entities could not comprehend or control. The broadcast continued for 3 hours. Throughout the station, systems began to fail as the psychic chaos overwhelmed the orderly alien technology. But in the archaeological chamber, something even more dramatic was happening. The temple was breaking apart. Area, Daeho called out, fighting to stay conscious. What's happening below? The psychic feedback is destroying the containment systems, but not in the way the dreaming ones intended. Your human chaos is fragmenting their consciousness even further. They are losing coherence. Is it working? Yes. But there is a problem. The destruction of the temple is creating massive energy releases. The chamber may collapse, taking the entire station with it. Daeho made a decision that would have seemed insane to any logical species. Increase the broadcast power. If we're going down, we're taking these parasites with us. Captain, that will certainly kill us all. Better dead than slaves. But something unexpected happened. As the human broadcast reached maximum intensity, the dreaming ones made a desperate attempt to save themselves. Instead of trying to possess the humans, they tried to communicate. Stop! Their voices echoed through the station speakers. We will negotiate. Now you want to talk? Daeho laughed, blood running from his nose due to the psychic strain. Too late for that. Please. We did not understand. Human minds are not like others. We made an error. You made more than an error. You tried to enslave us. We thought you would be willing partners. We have been alone for so long. We forgot what it meant to respect other forms of consciousness. Daeho paused the broadcast. His crew was barely conscious, but they were still alive. Still human. What are you offering? A true partnership. We will share our knowledge freely, but we will not try to control you. In exchange, you will help us find a new form of existence that does not require living hosts. How do we know you're not lying? Because, the dreaming ones replied, their voices now carrying something that sounded almost like respect. You have shown us something we thought impossible, a species that would choose death over domination. We have encountered thousands of civilizations, but none like yours. Sora struggled to sit up. They're afraid of us, she realized. Not our technology or our weapons, our willingness to sacrifice everything for freedom. We are not afraid, the entities protested. We are impressed. Your chaos is not weakness. It is strength. You create beauty from randomness. You find hope in despair. You love without logic. These are qualities we lost long ago. Daeho kept his hand on the broadcast controls. Prove it. Show us this knowledge without trying to take over our minds. Very well. But the process will be dangerous for both of us. To share information safely, we must create a new form of connection, one that preserves your independence while allowing communication. Jiwoo wiped blood from his ears. What kind of connection? We will need a willing volunteer, someone to serve as a bridge between human consciousness and our own. But this person will retain full control of their mind and body. We will be guests, not masters. The crew looked at each other. After everything they had been through, the idea of letting one of the dreaming ones into their minds was terrifying. I'll do it, Daeho said. Captain, no, Hyunki protested. What if it's a trick? Then I'll deal with it. But someone has to take the risk. And as the one who bought this nightmare, it should be me. Daeho felt the alien consciousness touch the edge of his mind. It was like standing at the shore of an infinite ocean of knowledge. But unlike before, the contact was gentle, respectful. The entity was careful not to push too deep or stay too long. Images flashed through his mind, technologies that could heal diseases instantly, ways to travel between stars without ships, methods for creating energy from nothing. But along with the knowledge came understanding of the price the dreaming ones had paid for it. They destroyed themselves, he said aloud. The knowledge made them so powerful that they forgot how to be individuals. They became a collective consciousness, but lost their ability to create or dream or love. That is why we need you, the entity in his mind explained. Your chaos gives meaning to our order. Your emotions give purpose to our logic. Together, we could accomplish things neither of us could achieve alone. Without enslaving us, we have learned that enslaved minds cannot create true innovation. Only free consciousness can discover new possibilities. The negotiation took hours. The dreaming ones would share their knowledge gradually, in ways humans could understand and control. In exchange, they would be allowed to experience human creativity and emotion through willing volunteers. Most importantly, either side could end the partnership at any time. And if we refuse? Daeho asked. Then we will return to our prison willingly. We would rather sleep forever than force ourselves on unwilling hosts. It was Hyunki who made the final decision. They could have taken control when we were weakened by the broadcast. Instead, they chose to negotiate. That means something. Sora nodded. And think of what we could do with their knowledge. Cure diseases, end hunger, explore the universe like never before. Jiwoo was already imagining the engineering possibilities. We could build things that seem like magic today, but we do it our way, Daeho insisted. With human values, human choices. If we ever become something other than human. 3 years later, Station Echo 7 had become the most advanced research facility in known space. The ancient temple now housed laboratories where human scientists worked alongside fragments of consciousness from the dreaming ones. Technologies that had seemed impossible were now routine. Daeho stood in the observation deck watching ships arrive from across the galaxy. Not just human vessels, but alien craft from dozens of species. Word of the partnership had spread, and everyone wanted to learn from humanity's success. Captain, Aria's voice came through the speakers. The AI had been upgraded with dreaming, one technology, and now possessed capabilities that bordered on magical. The Quillarian delegation has arrived. They are requesting an audience. Daeho smiled. Send them to conference room 7, and Aria, make sure Vextara is with them. The alien trader who had sold him this bargain space station looked very different now. Gone were the expensive clothes and confident manner. Vextara appeared nervous and embarrassed as he entered the conference room with 3 other Quillarians. Captain. Daeho, Vextara said, his forearms fidgeting. I must apologize. The deal I offered you was meant to be a trap. My government hoped that humans would fail where we had succeeded only in awakening horrors. I know, Daeho replied. You expected us to either die or become possessed. Instead, we did something no other species had managed. We made friends with the monsters. The lead Quillarian delegate spoke up. We come to request access to the knowledge you have gained. Our civilization faces challenges that could benefit from Dreaming One technology. And what are you willing to offer in exchange? Trade agreements, mining rights, advanced Quillarian science. Deho shook his head. That's not how this works anymore. The knowledge isn't for sale. It's earned. We don't understand. The dreaming. Ones don't share their secrets with just anyone. You have to prove you can handle the responsibility, that you won't use the knowledge to dominate others or destroy yourselves. Jiwoo, now the station's chief engineer, entered the room. His appearance had changed over the years. Streaks of silver ran through his black hair, not from age, but from prolonged exposure to dreaming one energy. His eyes held depths of knowledge that seemed impossible in someone so young. The process is simple, he explained to the Quillarians. You volunteer to undergo the same test we did. Face the entities directly. Show them that your species deserves their trust. And if we fail, then you learn nothing and go home. The dreaming ones won't harm unwilling subjects anymore. We've taught them the value of consent. Sora appeared in the doorway. Like Jiwoo, she bore the marks of her partnership with ancient consciousness, but her smile was purely human, warm, and welcoming. We have representatives from 17 species currently undergoing the trials, she reported. The Andromedans passed last week. The Centaurians are still struggling with the chaos requirements. Chaos requirements? Vextara asked. The dreaming ones learned that orderly minds are easier to dominate, Deho explained. So now they only work with species that can embrace randomness and creativity, beings who can think outside logical patterns. Humans excel at this naturally, Jiwoo added, but other species can learn. It just takes practice. Hyunki joined them carrying a data pad filled with reports. His security role had evolved into something more like a diplomatic position. He now helped alien species prepare for their encounters with the dreaming ones. The Vegan delegation wants to try again, he reported. They think they understand the requirements better now. Third time's the charm, Sora laughed. Remember when we thought this was going to be a simple mining operation? Deho turned back to the Quillarians. Your people created this situation when you funded the original research. You knew the dangers, but you pushed ahead anyway. When things went wrong, you tried to trick us into cleaning up your mess. We acknowledge our mistakes, the lead delegate said. Good. Then you can be the first species to undergo the new trial system. But I warn you, it's not easy. The dreaming ones will test every aspect of your character. They'll show you power, beyond imagination, then see if you can resist the temptation to abuse it. Vexitara stepped forward. I will volunteer to go first. It was my deception that started this. I should face the consequences. It's not about consequences anymore, Deho said. It's about growth, about becoming better than you were. The trials took place in the converted temple chamber. What had once been a prison of horror was now a place of transformation. The ancient symbols on the walls glowed with soft light, no longer threatening but welcoming. Deho watched through the observation window as Vextara faced the test. The Quillarians' ordered mind struggled with the chaotic nature of the dreaming one's consciousness. But slowly, painfully, the alien trader learned to embrace unpredictability. He's fighting it, Jiwoo observed. His species values logical thinking above all else. That's exactly why they need this, Sora replied. Logic without creativity leads to stagnation. Order without chaos becomes tyranny. The test lasted 6 hours. When it ended, Vextara emerged, changed. His eyes held a new understanding, and his movements seemed less rigid. I see now why you succeeded where we failed, he told Deho. You didn't try to control the chaos. You became part of it. And now you can too. The knowledge is yours too. Share with your people, but remember the responsibility that comes with it. Later that evening, Deho stood alone in his private quarters. Through the window, he could see the artifact field that surrounded the station. What had once been a prison was now a beacon of hope, drawing beings from across the galaxy who sought to better themselves. Arya's voice spoke softly. Captain, do you ever regret making that deal with Vextara? Deho considered the question. His life had certainly not gone as planned. Instead of running a simple cargo business, he had become the guardian of humanity's most important discovery, The responsibility was enormous and the dangers were real. "No," he said finally. "Sometimes the worst deals turn into the best opportunities. We just have to be stubborn enough to see them through." A soft chime indicated an incoming message. Daeho activated his communication console and saw the face of a human admiral he had never met. "Captain Daeho, this is Admiral Park Chang-min of the Earth Defense Force. I'm calling to inform you that the Galactic Council has voted unanimously to recognize Station Echo 7 as an independent human territory. You are now, officially, the Governor of humanity's first sovereign space station." Daeho laughed. "I went from cargo captain to governor because I bought the wrong space station from a shady alien. The universe has a sense of humor," Arya observed. Through his connection with the Dreaming Ones, Daeho could sense their ancient amusement. They had waited eons for someone stubborn enough to turn their prison into a partnership. That it had taken a desperate human with a gambling problem made the victory even sweeter. A new ship appeared on the horizon, bringing another species to undergo the trials. The work would never end. There would always be new beings seeking knowledge, new challenges to face, new opportunities to prove that cooperation was stronger than domination. Daeho had learned the most important lesson of all. Sometimes the best deals were the ones that seemed too good to be true. You just had to be human enough to make them work. As he prepared for bed, he could hear the soft humming from the temple chamber below. But now it sounded like a lullaby, rather than a threat. The Dreaming Ones were content, the station was safe, and humanity had proven once again that they could turn any disaster into an adventure. The shady alien deal that had seemed like the end of everything had become the beginning of humanity's greatest chapter, and knowing humans, it was just the start. Epilogue: 5 years after the first contact, Vexitara returned to Station Echo 7 as the official Quillarian ambassador. He brought with him a proposal that made Daeho laugh out loud. "You want to hire me as a consultant?" Daeho asked. "My government is planning to establish their own research station. They want someone with experience in turning bad deals into good outcomes. And you think I'm qualified?" "Captain," Vexitara said, with the closest thing to a human smile his alien features could manage. "You bought a haunted space station from a con artist and turned it into the most successful research facility in the galaxy. If that doesn't qualify you as an expert in handling bad deals, nothing does." Daeho accepted the job. After all, he was human. When faced with impossible odds and terrible decisions, humans had only one real option. They got stubborn and made things work anyway.